Hey everybody, Greg Luchak here. Today I just want to start a conversation about jobs, the economy, lifestyle. How is it working out for you? Let me start by saying the American economy is just humming along. Most experts predicted that the next boom would be around 2020 to 2024. That's when the habits of the millennials and the Gen Y will start to change. They'll start buying their first home. They'll start investing for their kids' education. They'll start making bigger purchases, because they'll be getting into full swing into their jobs and making more money. So that's kind of a predictable thing. But Trump has come along and he's kind of changed that for the United States, for example. He has aggressively engaged the economy with new policies, and they're working. Having said all that, even though many new jobs have been created, many still will face financial hardship. People are carrying too much debt. I estimate that at least 30% of North Americans can't even buy a home. And I think that's a conservative number. It might even be much higher than that. That's 120 million people. That's a lot of people that can't afford to buy a home. So how can you change, or how can we change our financial position in life? One of the reasons I wrote my book, The Wealth Principle, was to address this question, for example. Who wants more out of life? Who wants to make more money? Who wants to buy a house, go on vacation, pay cash, and never have to worry about the bills? The most competitive arena you will ever be in is to become an employee. Why do I say that? Well, you think about it. We grew up with this idea that you go out and you get a good education, and you get a good job, and you buy a house, you pay off your house, and you hopefully have a pension, and that's the kind of the plan we've all been induced to do. But to become an employee you're competing amongst everybody in the world today for a job. You have to have a better education. You're competing. You have to go for interviews. You have to use a resume, apply for it, and be interviewed. Go through multiple interviews. Especially if you're looking for a higher priced job, so you can be making some good enough money to maybe buy a house, pay off your university or college debt. So it's very expensive. It's very tough for people to break out of that concept. But you have to. I've had this idea that that old age concept of get a good education, a good job, buy a house, pay off. That system is broken. 50% of people are struggling with that. That's 200 million people. That's a lot of people in North America. In my opinion, the only way to break or to change that scenario, to break that common mold, would be to become an entrepreneur. Start a business. The fact is, if you won't really have any competition when you become a business owner with yourself personally, because you don't need to apply for the job, because it's not a job. You don't need a resume. You don't even need a great deal of education, because what you're going to be doing is hiring the educated. You'll have to work your butt off. It won't be easy. There will always be ways, there will always be a learning curve to overcome. So in my opinion, the best way to break the status quo is to have multiple streams of income. So if you want to buy a house, if you want to pay cash for everything, you want to get rid of debt relatively quickly, it's getting exceedingly more difficult in a job. And I'll give you an example. You look at housing, for example. You don't want to buy a house. I looked at when my parents bought their first home back in the early 60s. It was a single income family earning about $7,000-8,000 a year. Bought their first home for $16,000, about 200% of income. Today, that scenario doesn't exist today. Today, it depends on where you are, because every real estate market is different from one city to the next, etc. But that whole situation of buying a house, today, say for example in Ottawa, to buy a brand new single family home is like $550,000, and takes a dual income family of earning at least $100,000. That's 550% of income. And you could take that same scenario and apply it in a lot of places around North America. So in my opinion, the best way to break the status quo is to have multiple streams of income. So what you need to do is to make some changes. So I want to start this conversation. I would love it if you could leave a question, leave me a comment, send me an email. Let's start talking about this and see if we can help you out and help you change your station in life by becoming an entrepreneur. That's my blog for today. I'd like to get your feedback. Let's start the conversation. You have a great day, and as always, you keep crushing it.